Okay, so we're dealing with lesson 7.3, using percent. Using percent. We'll see. Some of it's going to look similar to yesterday's lesson. None of our formulas will change, but the key is the formulas. So again, our first is the number equals the percent times the class of number. I always think of the of glove. Did you ever see a commercial for the of glove? It's one of those goofy products where it's a mitten that you can stick your hand in the oven for to grab stuff. It's called the of glove, like oven glove. It's a kind of commercial like the Snuggie. Have you ever seen a commercial for a Snuggie? Yeah, those goofy things. All right, for the of number. And then the other formula, what goes in the first blank? Somebody raise your hand. Christina? Nope. Allison? The part. Correct. Part equals the percent times the whole, right? Part equals percent times the whole. As always, remember, the percent is always in decimal form. Some of you didn't deploy DMAMs yesterday. You need to deploy DMAMs. Does my answer make sense? Now we're getting into word problems today, and even more important is asking DMAMs. And with word problems, it becomes more important that we know both of these formulas. So the number equals percent times the of number. Okay, sometimes there's an of number and it's clear. But in word problems, sometimes there's not an of number. Then we got to think part equals percent times the whole. If we'll have both of those in our thoughts, we should be able to handle just about every problem that comes our way. If we have both of those in our thoughts. All right, so let's see what we got here. First question, number 2. Of the 48 eighth graders, 26 showed up at the teen activity. What percent attended? So we've got 2 possible formulas. Somebody raise your hand and tell me which one you'd like to use on this one. Brendan?
Do you want to say that?
Tell me the formula.
Number equals percent times of number.
The number equals a percent times the of number, right? Hopefully that's at the top of your notes, and it's right there, top of the screen. Number equals percent times the of number. Okay, we got 3 spots. So I'm looking for a spot. So, Raph, give me a spot. Any of the 3, tell me what to put where. Go ahead.
The number is 26.
The number is 26. Okay, I wouldn't have started that way, but I agree. The number is 26. That is probably the worst spot to fill in first, but you are correct. Colby?
The of number is 48.
Yeah, the of number is 48. Therefore, then the 26 has to be the number. And we're looking for the percent. I'm just going to use variable capital P. So we got 26 equals P times 48. Now, we've already learned how to solve these, so I want you to finish it. I'm going to pause the video. You can keep working for a moment. Somebody that's done already, can you tell me, a little bit about DMAMs here? Like what kind of answer you would be expecting on this kind of problem? Daniel? Okay, so Daniel's saying above the number 24 or 24%? Above 50%. All right, so Daniel says 24 is half of 48, and that's 50%. And the number we have is 26, bigger than 24. Therefore, it's got to be bigger than 50%. And I would think you're expecting a number close to 50%. Now, hopefully your number is bigger than 50, but close. That is an answer that makes sense. The DMAMS likes that answer. And again, if you solved it correctly, all you got to do is move the 48 by dividing both sides by 48. Again, I advise most of you to take your answer and multiply it times 100%. So it's 26 divided by 48 times 100%. That way you can just read the screen. And what do we get? 54.2%. And how many got that correct? Okay, not enough. Questions? Questions, Christina? Probably because you punched something in wrong, or you don't know how to round off.
Okay, I see.
Right? We're rounding off to one decimal place. We looked at the number to the right of the first digit. If it's 5 or bigger, we round up from a 1 to a 2. Any other questions on that? All right, don't be missing them due to round-offs. Although that would be a minor deduction in a quiz or homework. Okay, let's do the second problem. Sky has 16 grams of steel. If it's 70% steel, then how many grams of iron are there? Sky has 16 grams of steel. If it's 70% steel, then how many grams of iron are there? So you got two choices here. Number equals percent times the of number, or part equals percent times the whole. My advice is part equals percent times the whole. That would be my advice. So the first thing we got to do is figure out where we're going to put what we have. I'm going to pause and let you do that and then stop. Don't go further, so I want to make sure that part's right. So let me pause. You fill in the part. Okay, somebody raise your hand and give me one of the three spots. Christina.
Percent, put 70.
So like that?
For the percent.
Like that. Okay. Read this for me. Okay, so again, if you do that, you're going to get the problem wrong, guaranteed. So, Christina, not 70%, what do we put instead? 0.70, yes. And 0.70 is the same as 0.7, so either way would be okay. Either 0.70 or just 0.7, I agree. All right, I have two spots left, and it's the 16 is going to go somewhere, right? And I'm going to keep the units. So the question is the 16 grams part or is the 16 grams whole? That's the question. Brendan.
It's part.
How many agree with Brendan? It is part. How many disagree? It is whole. Okay. Tough question now, and obviously we're going to get two different answers, and we're about 50-50. So again, we got to look at this problem a little bit more and see if we can dissect it a little bit more. You have a 16-ounce glass of iced tea. All right? If 4% of it is sugar, then how many grams of the other liquid is there? That's an analogy. Same kind of question. Now, I don't know if that helped you. Let's see. What else can I make analogous? I don't know. It's kind of hard to come up with good analogies on these kinds of things. Because it's a percent. Okay. You have $100 and you gave 70% of it to missions. How many grams or how much money do you have left? That's the same kind of question. Okay. Now again, it's hard to figure these things out. So again, is the 16 grams part or is it whole? So who are my part people? 16 grams is the part. And who are the whole people? 16 grams is the whole. All right, put your hands down. How many converted? Did anybody change? What did you change to? 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 Yeah, and at least you guys all made the correct change. The 16 grams is the whole. You have 16 grams of steel. Now, you may not know this, but steel is made up of different elements. One of them is iron. Steel is made of iron and some other things. That's why I was trying to do the iced tea analogy, sugar and the rest of the ingredients, that kind of thing. All right, again, if you get that 16 in the wrong spot, you're going to get the problem wrong. And that one, the MAMS is going to have a hard time with. So anyhow, take your calculator out, multiply 0.7 times 16. And somebody raise your hand and tell me what your calculator says. Nia?
1142
And would we say anything else? Allison? Grams of, and this is iron, right? Grams of iron. Now again, what hurts you on this one is if you don't know that steel is an alloy. An alloy means it's made up of two or more metals. One of those is iron. There are others. Okay? All right, let's go to the next problem. The Jones family pays a monthly mortgage of $1,475. This is 36% of their monthly income. Find the monthly income. Now, on this one, flat out, part equals percent times the whole is the way to go, at least in my mind. So using the formula part equals percent times the whole, go ahead and see if you can solve this all the way to the end. I'm going to pause the video. So again, you got to ask the MAMS. The mortgage payment has to be less than the monthly income. The mortgage payment, the $1,475, is a part of the total income. In this budget, it's 36% of that total income. Now again, here in our speaking, that word of will get you in trouble. You got to be careful in these type of problems. You really have to think. But the MAM should have helped you. There's only two places. You're either going to put it with the part or you're going to put it with the whole, and the MAMs will not like your answer if you put it with the whole. At which case you say self. It must be in the other spot. And the MAMs helps you with that. But what if you never ask the MAMs? Then you have a ridiculous answer. By the way, anybody know what the answer is the other way? What do you get? Here, I'll figure it out. So look, if you would have done it wrong, here's what your answer would have been. If you did it wrong, your answer would be $531. All right, so your parents make $531 a month, and they have to pay $1,475 a month for their mortgage? You're not eating. You're not getting any clothes. You're not going anywhere. Matter of fact, they're going to foreclose on their house because they're not making their payment either. Right? It doesn't make sense. So again, if you ask the MAMs, then hopefully you'll be in good shape. Somebody tell me the answer to this one. Hayden, what do you got?
$4,097.22.
That's what I got. $4,097.22. Now that makes sense. The mortgage is a portion of their monthly income. That's real life, and that's the way things have to be. Kristen, that shirt's untucked again. Okay, so let's go on to the next problem. Again, you got to think your way through these. You just can't mindlessly do them. Word problems aren't that way. You got to think. All right, question number 5. If 32% of registered voters participated in the primary, then how many of the 78,000 registered voters cast a vote? Again, my advice is part equals percent times the whole. And I'm going to pause and let you try to figure it out. All right. If you're done on 3, give me your answer. 1, 2, 3.
24,960.
So you're saying 24,000 whatever is 32% of 78,000. Does that make sense? It absolutely does. And that is the correct way to do it. And when you finish off with N, you do get that 24,960. So 24,960 of the people registered cast a vote, 32%. Okay. General information with elections. Elections are held every year. What years is the turnout generally the greatest? When is the turnout generally the greatest? Colby?
I was going to say president.
That is the answer, during the presidential elections. Anybody figure out yet? And presidential elections happen every how many years? 4. So anybody know how the years go? Right. So this is 2016. We have a presidential election. Then it's going to be 2020, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40. And they just keep going every 4 years like that. Always on an even year. And again, it depends on when the last one was. So 24,960 voters. All right, let's get to a question that's near and dear to my heart, or I should say my stomach. The cost of a large pizza is 30% more than a medium. That makes sense. You get more, right? It costs only 30% more. Find the price of a large if the medium cost $8.95. Find the cost of a large. Now, I will tell you this. Be careful with this question. It's chock full of tricks. See what you can do with it. See what you can do with it. Most of you will probably miss this question, just so you know. And then I'll show you what to do because it's a tricky one. Okay, wherever you're at, just pause and we'll see. Again, this is a tricky question. You say, Mr. Scarfi, how would I know what to do? You might not, and that's why I'm using it as an example to try to show you. To understand the issue here, you have to understand a certain concept. So don't write this, I just want you to think. Let's suppose a person had $1,000 and they invested it in the stock market. Okay? So they had $1,000 in the stock market. And let's suppose that the stock market went up, and we'll go real easy, 10%. Then the stock market went down 10%. Somebody have an idea how much money is left at the end? Say it if you know it. $1,000? And the answer is wrong. Because here's what happens. 10% of $100 is easy to figure out, or of $1,000 is easy, right? What's 10% of $1,000? $100. So now we have $1,100. What's 10% of $1,100? Do it on your calculator if you don't know. 0.10 times 1,100. How much is it? Say it out loud. It's $110. Grand total, $990. You might say, how is that possible? Wait a minute, that's weird. It went up 10, it went down 10. Remember, percents are a ratio, a proportion. out of every 100. 10% of a bigger number is more than 10% of a smaller number. So in this kind of problem, you have to be really, really careful if you're going to get the correct answer. Okay. You might not see the analogy as we deal with more stuff. Hopefully it'll help you more. The whole point of that was to tell you be careful with percents. They're tricky. Now, hopefully you used part equals percent times the whole. The 895 has to be the part. The whole has to be the variable. But here's the problem. A large pizza is 30% more than a medium. We must figure out how much of a large is a medium. That's the problem. This number involves the medium. So this is tricky, I know. So if a large is 30% of a medium is what percent of a large? Say it if you know it. If a medium is 30% less than a large, what percent of a large is a medium? 70%. Like I said, this is a tricky problem. And I dare say probably nobody did it that way, but this is the only way to do it. Now there's another way to do it in one step, but you guys aren't ready for it yet, and I think it's easier, and we'll do them later on, a couple days down the road. We'll get there, but we're not ready for them yet. So 895 divided by 0.7, and then we're not done yet. Actually, we are done. $12.79. All right, is the amount. Did anybody get it? You can't be close, because you will be close doing it the wrong way. Because isn't 990 close to 1,000? So you'll be close the other way, but you won't be correct. You can't take 30% of $8.95 and then add it to the $8.95. That's not true. That's the up-down problem. You got to take $8.95 is 70% of what? You won't get it right without doing it this kind of problem. Okay? That's tricky. I know that's tricky, but that's the way it goes. All right. I need you to work some of these problems tonight. 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, 14, 36, 39. Ask the MAMS. Hey, everybody pause for a second. If the MAMS doesn't like your answer, what do you usually do? Switch the part in the whole, right? And see if it works better the other way, and see if that makes sense then all of a sudden. Generally, that's the fix, apart from pushing a wrong button. Again, always be careful, and remember the percent is always in decimal form. All right.